presented by Corona Extra, has come back to Mohegan Sun. Recent upsets have made April a wild ride for boxing fans. Tonight here in Connecticut, we will see if a few more heavily favored fighters will go down. The Mohegan Sun Arena, moments away from featuring this area's 08 Olympian Demetrius Andrade. And then in our main event, Brady Prescott, the only man to defeat world champion Amir Khan. He faces the tough and determined Bayan Jargal. Good evening, everybody. I'm Joe Tessitore, and I welcome you to Friday Night Fights. Brady Prescott has that signature win that any fighter would be proud of. What he doesn't have is that cash-out big moment that follows it up typically. Instead, his career hit a bit of a speed bump, a couple of decision losses. More recently, he has grabbed a couple of wins. Let me bring in my partner, our expert analyst, Teddy Atlas. Now, we've seen Prescott before, but this is the first time that we're going to broadcast a fight that includes the Mongolian Jargal. What kind of fight are we in store for, Teddy?
Well, I think that since today is Earth Day, that, of course, you're thinking about saving the environment. You're thinking about recycling, planting a tree. And for our fighters tonight, they're thinking about showing how much and finding out how much they've grown. And maybe even finding out whether or not the dream can stay alive, that someday they can conquer this earth and become a world champion. Most people don't give Jargal much of a chance that I've talked to. They like Prescott. They like his right hand. I do too. But I think Jargal is better than most people give him credit for. And I will tell you, never underestimate Mother Nature or a hungry Mongolian fighter, especially on Earth Day.
This has been happening often, Teddy, the past month in boxing. People underestimating the underdogs, but we've had spectacular fights and upset outcomes in boxing for a month now. The first fight includes Demetrius Andrade, just his 13th pro fight, already the 7th time on ESPN. First, we say hello to Brian Kenny in the Friday Night Fight studio. BK.
Joe, Teddy, thank you so much. Yes, a stunning weekend of boxing at Foxwoods and in Puerto Rico. Coming up tonight on Friday Night Fights, what is next for Victor Ortiz now? Floyd Mayweather was at his fight, a stunning upset and a barn burner against Andre Berto. Teddy Atlas also on the redemption of Victor Ortiz. The fallout from the shocking loss to the guy considered to be a rising superstar, Juan Manuel Lopez, and from tragic to life-affirming and life-saving, the story of Paco Rodriguez, an E60 exclusive. That's all coming up here on Friday Night Fights. You can reach out to us on Facebook and search ESPN Friday Night Fights. Right now, good action in the ring coming up. We go back to Mohegan Sun for the undefeated and silky smooth Demetrius Andrade. Joe, Teddy?
Thank you, Brian. Demetrius Andrade came into his pro career with as much hype as any of the modern young American fighters. So far, the Olympian has stayed unbeaten, but still critics say he could do more, face better opponents, be further along. Tonight, we will see how he has progressed. He takes on Omar Bell. Demetrius Andrade, born and raised in nearby Providence. Now he's been training out of Florida. No longer managed and trained by his father, Paul. Instead, he's made a change that he feels will bring out the best in his career. Southpaw, junior, middleweight, now 23 years old. Omar Bell hasn't been all that active as a pro fighter, just 9 fights since '06. Served in the Marines, has held down a regular 9-to-5 job. Says boxing, well, it's just where life took him.
For Andrade, last time he was in with an undefeated prospect, he being Bell, well, he only lasted 1 round. Go get him. Give him nightmares, again, of that experience. And for Bell, well, Andrade is a southpaw. Go throw right hands, and hopefully you can land a big one.
That is how the fighters will keep their edge. Brought to you by Just for Men, Mustache and Beard. Dick Flaherty is the referee, as Andrade and Bell are scheduled for 8.
155 pounds, wears silver trunks with black trim. Professional record.
Omar Bell being introduced here, 32 years old, just a 4-year pro. Stepped up in class one time. That was against Keith Thurman. He was knocked out in the first round. Thurman was the silver medalist in the U.S. Olympic trials. Ironically, he lost in those finals to try to earn a ticket to the Olympic Games to Demetrius Andrade.
No defeats, 8 big knockouts. Please welcome Demetrius the Hammer Andrade. Our referee, Dick Flaherty, has our fighters' final instructions.
Okay, touch them up, guys. Good luck.
Teddy, nobody has put forth more criticism as to the slow road in terms of opponents opposite Demetrius Andrade than you. What do we have in terms of Omar Bell compared to what Andrade has faced in the past?
Not much of a step up, to be quite frank, and we like to be frank here. The record of Andrade's opponent seems to be his strongest feature. He looks to be in easy tonight as Andrade, but we thought before he was in easy, and it didn't always turn out that way. It wound up going rounds, but I would be really surprised if Bell could survive here with Andrade. All but one fight for Bell have been in the South, where you can build records. We've talked about that before. The only loss for Bell was by KO. Last time Bell was in this position, fighting an undefeated prospect, was just 3 fights ago, Joe. And he was knocked out in 1 round.
The aforementioned Keith Thurman. That fight was back in August of 2008. So 3 fights ago stretches all the way back to 2008 for Bell. Did not fight in all of 2009, then had a January and a March fight in 2010, and now resumes his career here in April 2011.
The first thing I notice is that Andrade is going to have to double up that jab if he's going to get the knockout tonight, because Bell fades out on him.
Yeah, that left hand isn't reaching, coming on the back end of that jab.
Now you go in 6 inches, Bell goes back about 10. So
speaks volumes as to his disposition as a fighter, doesn't it?
So you want to close the gap if you're Andrade. 1 jab is not going to get you close enough. That's what's going to do it, and that's going to be the ticket.
He doubled it up and then landed that left hand to the body. Now they tie up on the inside. Veteran New England referee Dick Flaherty separating Bell and Andrade.
Keith Thurman, who you mentioned a moment ago was the fighter who knocked out Bell in 1 round, was beaten by Andrade in the amateurs. Bell has a terrible habit when you throw at him. He pulls back and that chin comes up. The old timers would say, like a lantern in a storm. A target for Andrade.
Snapping jab to the body. And you see the warning from Flaherty to Omar Bell.
Again, a little short, as you said, Joe, with the left hand for Andrade, because 1 jab didn't get him close enough.
So coming to the end of round number 1 here. Another look at the U.S. Olympian, the unbeaten Demetrius Andrade. ESPN Friday Night Fights is presented by Corona Extra, proud sponsor of Friday Night Fights, and as always encourages you to relax responsibly. And in part by Just for Men hair color, knocks out the gray better than ever. The magnificent Mohegan Sun here in Uncasville, Connecticut. It's been a big part of the boxing scene for a decade and a half, and especially with this beautiful facility here, the Mohegan Sun Arena. Of course, boxing fans know it as the home to Gotti Ward 1.
Andrade, like most young people, in this case, young fighter, he's 23 years old, a little stubborn. He's got it in his mind. He's going to land that left hand come hell or high water. And he's really pushing the envelope for that. What you want to see with a young fighter coming up the ranks is the ability to adjust a little bit. If one thing's not working, you have a repertoire. Go to another thing.
When we met with Andrade yesterday, Teddy, he discussed the fact that his father, Paul, is no longer in his corner, is no longer training or managing his career. He said, hey, we're cool. We still love each other. He's still a huge part of my life outside of boxing, but too much of my relationships outside of boxing were affecting my world inside the gym. So that a significant change for him.
And there's a significant change for Bell.
First knockdown of the night. And if he doesn't get up, that's it. All over. Count it out.
As we predicted, or we forecasted the possibility, it would not be a long night for Andrade. Bell coming in here with a lot of inactivity. 1 year and 1 month since he was last in the ring. And if you went back 2 fights, he was off 1.5 years. Whether or not it was the rust or the left hand of Andrade, a little bit of both, but the left hand lands there solid. We'll take another look. Andrade comes in, and he makes that adjustment. He throws the left hand a little low, and Bell ducks into it. Watch, Bell ducks down, and the left hand thrown down low right into the ducking Andrade. A nice little adjustment, good eyes by Andrade. Not a great opponent in front of him, but a nice delivery of that punch.
So Demetrius Andrade with the thudding, well-timed, well-placed left hand ending the evening.
Yeah, what I really like about that is, I said earlier that Andrade was stubborn tonight. He was going to land that left hand come hell or high water. But what I liked was he adjusted it. He lowered the sights on it to a little lower, and Bell, as he bent right into the punch.
And with Demetrius Andrade getting rid of Omar Bell early, well, Kevin Rooney Jr. will now be making his pro debut televised. That is going to be coming up before our main event, as well as all the news and analysis. For the official particulars, we send it up to the ring to Generous Joe Antonacci.
Boxing fans, the time 1 minute and 31 seconds of round number 2. Your referee, Dick Flaherty, reaches the count of 10. Your winner by knockout. From Providence, Rhode Island, Demetrius the Hammer Andrade.
Well, the hammer definitely struck tonight. Demetrius Andrade, who had a January win on Friday Night Fights, comes back here in April, runs his mark now to 13-0 with 9 knockouts. Kevin Rooney Jr. making his pro debut, plus our main event still to come after this. Stay with us.
He has the only win against Amir Khan, the only loss of his career. He's coming up in the main event. Brian Kenny back here on Friday Night Fights. Brady Prescott in our main event. Amir Khan's only pro loss. We'll have highlights of Amir Khan coming up in a moment. And it's upset weekend in boxing. 2 major cards, 2 unbeaten rising stars, and both are stunned. Undefeated Andre Berto, powerhouse welterweight, looking for big game Victor Ortiz, highly regarded prospect, with a few setbacks along the way, and fighting for the very first time at welterweight. Let's take a look. Go to MGM at Foxwoods. This could be the fight of the year. Ortiz, a force from the opening seconds, getting after it and landing the big left hand and a right, pummeling Berto, puts him into the corner. Berto drops to the knee. You had to wonder if Berto would be stopped early, but whoa, he regains his legs, loaded up with his power shot, that tight right hand, and a knockdown in round 2. Again, Ortiz taking over, but then round 6, He gets belted again. Big power shot by Berto. He's knocked down again. And then later in round 6, Ortiz not ceding the 10-8 round. Look at these shots, and down goes Berto. 2 knockdowns in 1 round, 1 apiece. And even with Berto's legs shaky, he battled back to make it great action in round 7. Ortiz, of course, only 24, badly criticized for opting out against Marcos Maidana, but no thought of stopping here. And Victor Ortiz, with Floyd Mayweather looking on, yes, Floyd was there, wins a welterweight title in his first fight at 147 pounds. Time for Keep Your Edge. Keep Your Edge by Just for Men, Mustache and Beard, and it was bombs away at Foxwoods last Saturday. Victor Ortiz, look at the number of punches thrown, 696. The power shots, 570. Out connecting Andre Berto as well. Big night, action-packed, could be the fight of the year.
We saw him always going like this to drop it. So every time he was doing that, we were walking to the right. About 99.9% of the time, I was supposed to keep this hand up to my chin at all times. I dropped it, and I got dropped. He was powerful, but I think I was a little more powerful than he was. He couldn't push me back, and I knew that. I don't know how I knew it, but I knew he couldn't push me back. I was very comfortable in the simple sense that I worked hard. I obeyed my team, I obeyed my rules, I obeyed everyone, and you know, I just did it.
He did indeed. Tremendous intensity from Victor Ortiz, and now he climbs in the Ring Magazine rankings. Manny Pacquiao, #1 pound for pound. He'll take on Sugar Shane Mosley at #4, coming up in Las Vegas in 2 weeks. Then Floyd is #2. Ortiz moves all the way up, and Berto back to #5 in a top-heavy division. Let's bring in Teddy Atlas. Teddy, pretty good fight. Give us your big picture thoughts.
Well, I'll start, if you don't mind, with Mr. Berto. First of all, with Berto, I just don't think that he's progressed the way you want to see a young fighter progress since he turned pro. In some ways, you could probably make an argument that he's regressed a little bit. He hasn't learned how to really fight on the inside. I mean, he grabs, he looks to clutch, and he leaves himself a little bit available, but Ortiz knew how to do more things. Ortiz could fight on the inside. Ortiz could fight in dimensions where it looked like Berto was lost. And also, I would have really loved to have heard in the corner of Berto, it seemed like there was distress. It almost seemed like his brother talking to him, in between the trainer talking to him, a little confusion, but it seems like he was trying to tell him to not give up, not to submit, hang in there. So you wonder about the mindset of Berto.
Teddy, of course, you talk about a guy who would quit, and Victor Ortiz took a lot of criticism. I never understand this because we all have some quitness, and Victor Ortiz opted out, retired, as they say, in the UK. In his fight with Marcos Maidana, there was no quit in the guy that fought last Saturday night. What do you make of that?
Well, what I make of it is that you go directly back to Maidana. He learned in the Maidana fight, much like Vitaly Klitschko learned in the Bird fight, much like George Foreman learned in the alley fight many, many years ago, that it's harder to quit than it is to fight for 36 minutes. Because you fight for 36 minutes, it's 36 minutes. It's over. You quit, it lasts for an eternity. I think Ortiz learned that in the Maidana fight, and he was really strengthened by that memory, and he wasn't about to give up. And also, he's a guy that I think, as I said earlier, was able to just do more things than Berto. In some way, expose Berto to some of the things that he has not learned how to do.
If he was looking to erase that memory, I think he went a long way to absolutely doing that. We look for great things in the future from Victor Ortiz. Hey, also over the weekend, Teddy, in Puerto Rico, Juan Ma is stunned. 30-0, 27 KOs, seen as a rising superstar, taking on veteran Orlando Salido. And early on, you got that feeling this could be a rough night. Go through the rounds now. Here in round 4, they battle back and forth, and Salido nailing his shot, not going anywhere. Big shot coming in round 5. Oh, there it is at the end of the combination. And Juan Manuel Lopez didn't see it. They continue on, round 6. Salido now able to weigh in, step back, and get some shots of his own. But Lopez, in Bayamon, in front of his home fans, battles back, finds his legs. But Salido coming back again in round 8. Back and forth they go. Orlando Salido continues to pummel away. The ref very close. Roberto Ramirez saw the head snap back once. He was waiting for one more good shot, and then he stops it. Lopez extremely upset after the fight. Teddy, I thought it was a decent stoppage given the amount of punishment he took just before that. You tell us your overall reaction to Salido stopping an unbeaten Juan Ma.
Well, I have to tell you the truth. Lopez, to me, was a little overrated. I just never thought quite as much of him as everybody else seemed to. You know, he was life and death with Rogers Motagua, a tough guy, a game guy, but a very raw, crude fighter who fights a little bit like that. And he had everything to survive in that fight. I just thought that Lopez had a terrible flaw. You know, he was smooth, he was silky, he was a southpaw, he could counter nice, but he used to always come back to the middle. Always, Brian, stand up straight. Even when he goes to throw shots, instead of putting his body in position, he would just put his arm over and stay right there to be a target. In Salido, you had a guy that wasn't great maybe in one area, but a guy who learned how to fight, a guy who was fire-tested, a guy who lost fights early on, was stopped 5 times early in his career, but he became a real solid pro.
It's a very good point, because you also look at a guy that people get labeled as a quitter or a guy who will not fight on. You can become something very different. We saw it this weekend. Which was a bigger upset in your mind, Teddy? I know you're not stunned by either one. Both guys in your mind that lost, that were undefeated, were a little overrated. But what was a bigger upset in your mind?
No doubt about it. The big upset was Lopez. Lopez was undefeated. People thought he was going to be able to beat or at least be very competitive with one of the better fighters out there, Gamboa. So I don't think there's any doubt. Berto, a lot of people did have doubts about him, as I spoke about. Had he developed enough? And they were a little questionable about the guys on his resume. But again, Lopez, they thought he could beat Gamboa or have a chance. That means they had to be shocked that he got knocked out by Salido.
Yeah, Yuriorkis Gamboa, we've seen him a lot on Friday Night Fights. Teddy, Bob Arum was saving both of them. He wanted to make that fight ripe and make it big business. Now that fight is just not there. Teddy, thank you so much. Get ready for your next fight. We're asking you on ESPN.com and SportsCenter.com, who do you want to see Victor Ortiz fight next? And most people would like to see a Marcos Maidana rematch. Maidana has really made a career for himself and really shown people what he's made of after beating Victor Ortiz. And he beats out even Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, who was there watching the fight at MGM Grand in Foxwoods as well. Hey, also over the weekend, Amir Khan, one of the top stars in the sport now, still rising, but a belt holder at 140, looking for a mega fight showdown with Timothy Bradley. And here fighting Paul McCloskey at the MEN in Manchester, UK. McCloskey, unorthodox, from Northern Ireland, fighting sort of like the Prince. Emmanuel Stewart on the HBO telecast did say that, and indeed it was kind of like Prince Nassim Hamed. He got cut up. Amir Khan gets the TKO with the fight stopped. It was competitive, but now Amir Khan looks on for a showdown with Timothy Bradley. That will anoint the king at 140. Friday Night Fights coming your way from Las Vegas, Friday, April 29th, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. You can see it on ESPN3.com. Carlos Molina coming off a series of impressive performances and upset wins, going up against Alan Conyers, hard-hitting junior middleweight. Kevin Rooney Jr. making his pro debut, son of Kevin Rooney, of course. Let's go back to Joe and Teddy.
Quite a reception, BK, in anticipation for Rooney Jr. Big night here at Mohegan Sun as we work our way towards our main event of Brady Prescott and Bayan Jargle, and coming up later on Friday Night Fights. A must-watch, emotional story that we're going to deliver to you. An absolute must-watch. A boxing tragedy that transformed into the gift of life. Organ recipients who know what a real champion is all about.
You gotta move them.
Our next fight, 4 rounds, junior middleweights, a familiar name. David Navarro faces Kevin Rooney Jr. And there is Kevin Rooney Jr. The son of longtime trainer Kevin Rooney, who is working on this card in two ways, in the ring as a fighter and is also the full-time publicist and event coordinator for promoter Joe DeGuardia.
Play professional fight. Obey my command. Okay, touch him up, guys. Touch him up. Good luck.
Navarro is a 33-year-old from Philadelphia who's 0-2. So Navarro against Rooney Jr., Rooney Jr.'s pro debut.
Navarro is not only 0-2, he has been knocked out in those 0-2. One round KO'd and KO'd in his last fight a month and a half ago in 3 rounds.
And he'd be the first to admit that he didn't start to take boxing serious until he was 30 years old.
As you said, Kevin Rooney Jr. works for Joe DeGuardia, the promoter of Star Boxing, one of the promoters tonight, and I would say early on that Joe went out of his way to really look out for Rooney tonight by getting him this opponent. We'll see whether or not it turns out that way.
Rooney, of course, grew up early on in his life in the midst of his dad leading the way to Mike Tyson and the heavyweight world championship growing up in Catskill. Scores a knockdown here just 27 seconds in. As you described Navarro accurately, Teddy.
Not hard to do. You have to be very careful with a kid like Kevin Rooney Jr. And they are being very careful with him by giving him this gift opponent, it looks like, tonight.
Just missed on that right uppercut.
Kevin Rooney Jr. only had 7 amateur fights. Navarro only had 6. The problem with Navarro, he only won 2 of those amateur fights. Rooney is too square. I don't know if he'll pay a price tonight, but there will be a night if he steps up in competition, he may pay a price. Very square as he comes forward, and usually that means there's a lot of target for the opponent to find. Right now, the opponent, Navarro, not looking to find any target, just looking to survive.
This is a young man in Rooney Jr. who is a graduate of Fordham, who's putting forth his career on the executive and management side of the fight game. But he said he always had the itch to get back into boxing. And here he is tonight, making his pro debut on national TV.
Look at how square those legs are. Right there is a good shot of Rooney. Again, a lot of target for Navarro if he decides to punch back.
Navarro went down in the opening half-minute of this first round. Now has been surviving the assaults from Rooney.
There'd be a less of a chance of Navarro surviving if Rooney would go to the body more. Because Navarro's doing just what you said, Joe, surviving. Instinctually. That means he's moving his head. He's making punches like that miss, or he's blocking them. But the body is a target, and Rooney is not going after that target.
Juice is flowing in a pro debut. Head hunting here with a good following of friends, family, fans who have come in to watch him here in Connecticut. Coming to the end of round number 1 between Navarro and Rooney Jr.
Let's look at the knockdown from the last round with Rooney. The right hand comes out from Navarro, but it doesn't come back. So the left hook has no problem landing. And Navarro starts his descent downwards. And the crowd starts their ascent upwards.
Of course, a familiar name for fight fans. The son of Kevin Rooney Sr., the 26-year-old Kevin Rooney Jr., who works with us on Friday Night Fights throughout the year because he's the event coordinator and publicist for Joe DeGuardia's Star Promotions, the promoter of record for tonight's fight here at Mohegan Sun, pulling double duty. Yesterday, it was amazing to see Rooney here at Mohegan Sun. He was shuffling fighters in and out of production meetings, going back and forth from the weigh-in, doing all his clerical work and promotional work, as well as having to deal with the weigh-in himself as a fighter.
So looking at the opponent he has in front of him, he was not overworked. But right now, Navarro showing some heart and coming back a little bit. And he has plenty of opportunities with Rooney. One, as I said earlier, Rooney gets very square, gives you a lot to find, and Rooney covers up. And when he covers up, you have a chance to go to work.
Trying to get around that guard of Navarro. Takes an angle down to the side. Most of that was blocked.
The one time Navarro was caught in the last round and dropped was when he threw and he didn't recover with the hand or cover with the hand quickly enough. So right now he's making sure when Rooney's close to him, he's not making that mistake. He's keeping those hands up and he's surviving.
Now he comes forward, falls in, hangs on to Rooney.
7-7-2. Somebody from the Rooney camp just yelled out, that's the number system that Customato created. And I happen to know what those numbers are.
What are they?
It's the jab, and 2 is the right hand. So 7-7-2 is jab, jab, right hand.
Well, if there was a boxing, where they have the coaching trees in the NFL, Rooney scores a second knockdown. Well, you'd be well up a few branches from Rooney Sr. You taught his father.
6, 7, 8. Look at that glove. You all right? You sure?
In all fairness, Customato did most of the teaching, but I did train Kevin Rooney Sr. for a number of years for Customato. And of course, all the other fighters in the gym, I did train them from the beginning to the end when I left.
So 2 rounds and 2 knockdowns scored by Kevin Rooney Jr.
I think there's going to be opportunities for uppercuts for Rooney as Navarro starts to fall in. With a hooker, but Navarro, as he throws his left hook, he doesn't keep his right hand up. If you're going to hook, keep your right hand up. And here's a good look at it. The right hand of Navarro is not up as he throws his left hook. And the left hook of Rooney gets there first.
Good look at that left hand in ultra mode here on Friday Night Fights. Round number 3 as we work our way towards our main event, which will feature Brady Prescott, the only man to defeat world champion Amir Khan. He did it in spectacular first round knockout fashion. He'll be taking on the rugged Mongolian Bayan Jargel in our main event. Teddy says, don't sleep on Jargel. Could be a good fight. Kevin Rooney. Another left hand sends back Navarro, and he tries to chase him down and corral him in that corner. Uppercut was just off the mark, partially blocked by Navarro. Navarro now opens up with a left hand of his own.
Well, the left hook has worked for Rooney so far tonight. 2 clean left hooks, 2 knockdowns, but I think the uppercut is in order now because, as I said at the end of the last round, Navarro is starting to lean forward when he comes in. And when he leans forward, great opportunity for an uppercut from Rooney. There's the leaning forward from Navarro, but no uppercut from Rooney.
Teddy, is there any part of you that, in looking at Rooney Jr., reminds you of his father when you were training his father all those years ago?
No, because his father was much more developed. His father had a real amateur career. He was a New York Gold Glove champion back in 1975. He was a guy who fought in the Nationals. He was a guy who was actually trying to make the Olympic team, fought internationally. He was a very good amateur and much more experienced than his son.
And went on to have a 21-win career as a pro. And his son, obviously, a very limited amateur career, went on to be a college graduate, a young executive in the fight game who just said, I had to get that itch out of the system, wanted to be in the ring as a pro.
And Kevin Rooney Sr. fought fighters like Davey Moore in the amateurs and had wins over fighters like Davey Moore,
talent,
who went on to win the junior middleweight championship of the world.
Rooney inviting Navarro in here with his back against the ropes as Navarro sends off a couple of body shots. Rooney comes back trying to land those 2 right uppercuts.
See, if I'm Rooney, I'm only doing 3 things. I'm going to jab to get Navarro set up. And then I'm going to go to the body and throw uppercuts. That's all I need. But you don't want to see him stand straight up. And Rooney just stood straight up and got caught. And Navarro gaining some confidence now.
Navarro's best work of the night here at the end of 3.
They always say one of the no-nos is to stand straight up and to pull straight back. And Rooney Jr. paid a little price for that. He stood straight up in front of his opponent, went straight back on a straight line, and ate a left hook.
There is senior Kevin Rooney Jr. into the 4th and final round of his pro debut. Scored a knockdown with a left hook in the 1st, counter left in the 2nd. Here, round number 4 against the 0-2 David Navarro.
I'm sure Rooney's father, Kevin Rooney Sr., when they look at the film of this fight and go over it, they're going to look at that last round where Rooney got caught with the left hook and say, why were you standing up tall in front of your man and going straight back? Bend, get small, then get out. That is something that we used to hear a lot in the gym many years ago when Rooney was one of those people in the gym. Kevin Rooney Sr.
Catskill Gym in upstate New York. One of the hotbeds for boxing in the Northeast back in those days, 70s through the mid-80s. Brian Kenny spent a lot of time in those parts, working out in that gym.
Rooney Jr. is 7 years younger than the 33-year-old Navarro. Tough life for Navarro. You touched on it. Grew up in foster care, lived in a shelter for a year and a half when he was younger. Was living in a homeless shelter when he had his first amateur fight. So he's a kid that knows how to deal with difficult times and deal with difficult things like the ring.
He's swelling around that right eye from those left hooks of Rooney. He's getting a bit of confidence in his later stages of this fight.
And you see how square Rooney is. Right now would be a good opportunity for Navarro to come back with an uppercut, split that guard of the peekaboo defense. But right now, the only guy throwing is Rooney, and the guy trying to cover and survive is Navarro.
Navarro stood up to a pretty solid left hand moments ago. Final half minute between these two. Still trying to split that guard. He does so with the right hand.
I talked about the uppercut being there for Rooney. The right hand is there for Navarro.
Now Navarro lunging forward, able to score with a couple of punches.
Rooney just took a little peek upstairs to try to see the clock. And I'm sure he's glad he heard that hammer that says this round and this fight is about over.
Swollen right eye for Navarro. Soon to be victory number 1 for Kevin Rooney Jr. The senior makes the walk across. Rooney Jr. with his boss and promoter, Joe DeGuardia. The publicist, the event coordinator, and now a participant in the ring here on Friday Night Fights. Stay with us. More to come. We'll hear from the judges. ESPN Friday Night Fights, presented by Corona Extra, is brought to you by BF Goodrich Tires. The Wolf Den here at Mohegan Sun, and a young wolf was served up some raw meat on an easy platter tonight. That would be Kevin Rooney Jr. against David Navarro.
Navarro threw the right hand, but he forgot to bring it back, and Rooney remembered to hit him with a left hook. And then in the second round, the right hand is down as Navarro throws his left hook, and the left hook of Rooney once again finds the mark.
Of course, Teddy Atlas's card has those two 10-8 rounds, 39-35, says Teddy. Let's head up to the ring to generous Joe Antonacci.
Boxing fans, after 4 rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecards. And all 3 of our judges, Glenn Feldman, Peter Harry, and Don Trella, score the bout 40-34, all in favor of your winner by unanimous decision. In his professional debut from Catskills, New York, Kevin "Kid" Rooney Jr.
So Rooney Jr.'s got to get a shirt and tie on and get back to work as the publicist now for this fight promotion. Nice reception, as many of the fans from New York have come over here to Mohegan Sun to watch him in his pro debut. Our main event is set to come your way, and it includes the hard-punching Colombian slugger Brady Prescott. He'll be taking on Bayan Jargal, tough Mongolian fighter. First, a visit with BK.
But Teddy, thank you very much. I remember a young Casey Rooney, as we know him, a little kid running around the gym all the time. He was, just a little kid, 4 or 5 years old, some 20 years ago. So congratulations to Kevin Rooney Jr. getting a win in his pro debut. The main event is about 7 minutes away. As we mentioned, big upsets over the weekend. What's the fallout? Because as you know, that happens. The plans must change. Let's bring in the man who knows about such things. He's on ESPN.com on the boxing page, our own Dan Rayfield. Dan, Victor Ortiz becomes a player at welterweight. That's where the big names are. What could be next, or what's in his future coming up?
Hi, Brian. He has a very bright future, obviously, after that great victory he had against Andre Berto. But in the immediate future, his promoter, Richard Schaefer at Golden Boy, they would like to bring him back in September. There's no official opponent or official date, but he does have a mandatory due against Selçuk Aydin, who's an excellent fighter from Turkey, who has a good record and is a come-forward, aggressive type of fighter. That might make for a good fight for him in the fight after the Berto fight. It's probably a good fight in the ring, and it is a mandatory, so that very well may be his next fight.
Dan, I know you were at that fight at MGM Grand in Foxwoods last weekend, but we expected you to be there. Didn't expect to see Floyd Mayweather at that fight. Floyd is not the type of guy just to go out and enjoy a night at the fights. Was he scouting? What was he doing?
I don't think he was officially scouting, but I didn't get a chance to talk to Floyd. He wasn't talking to anybody. He didn't do any interviews or anything like that, but I did speak to one of his guys who was there with him, and he said that Floyd had been in New York for a few days and decided just to come over to the fight. Berto, of course, shares a manager with Floyd Mayweather, so that could have been one of the reasons, but he did come over to check out the fights, but he was in quick and he was out quick.
How was he received by the fans there?
Well, when they showed him on the screens inside the arena at the Foxwoods MGM, he got very, very vociferously booed. There were some mixed cheers, obviously, but the crowd took to chanting Manny, Manny, Manny. They also chanted fight Pacquiao, fight Pacquiao, fight Pacquiao. So, I think he got the message, but it didn't seem to resonate because if you looked at his picture on the screen, he was sitting there with his pretty smile. Yeah, well, of course, he can do that. Other people will love Floyd again when he gets back into the ring. Hopefully that happens sometime this year. Juan Ma, Orlando Salido. Dan, what happens to the two of them after the upset and Salido getting the win? Well, huge upset certainly ruins, at least for the near term, the fight that Gamboa and any of the fight fans look forward to. Again, Lopez against Gamboa. So most likely what's going to happen is Salido will go home to Mexico, defend his belt in July, and then Top Rank will look to put on a rematch between Juan Ma and Salido in the fall. And the collateral damage to that is that there had been a plan to do a fall fight for Juan Ma against Rafael Marquez in a rematch. Obviously, if he's fighting Salido in a rematch, and Marquez is not going to get the call for that fight. You mentioned, too, in your column, Dan, it's on ESPN.com right now, that Bob Arum was saving the two while it got a little riper and became big business, and now it's just gone. What's being said around the fight world? Well, more or less, Bob had said for the last 2 years, I want to cook this thing, I want to let it marinate. And most people, such as myself, as many others, say, well, the marinade is spoiled, and he burned the roast. So, you know, he ruined dinner.
All right. Hey, Vladimir Klitschko, David Haye, give us the details. When is that?
Well, the fight's been agreed to for quite some time. They finally came to an official agreement on the exact date, as well as the location. It will be July 2nd in Hamburg, Germany, at a gigantic stadium, 55,000-seater. They're going to do press conferences, I believe, either next week or the week after, having determined the actual date. One will be in Germany. One will take place in London. And you can count on one thing, Brian. There'll be a ton of trash talk, at least from the Haye side, between now and the time the fight comes up.
The fight is happening, right, Dan?
Well, like Vladimir told me when I spoke to him the other day, he said the fight's signed, sealed, and delivered, but I still am skeptical because David Haye had signed, sealed, and delivered the fight once before and didn't show up. So, you know, Vladimir's opinion is, you know, he'll believe it when he sees him across the ring. And, you know, it's hard to blame him because of what happened between him and Haye in their first fight, and also the fact that they thought they had a deal for Haye to fight the brother of Vitaly Klitschko, and he bailed on that also. So who knows?
Yeah, I know, but all right, we're getting a little closer, so good points. July 2nd, look forward to that fight. Dan Rayfield, ESPN.com. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Brian. Have a great night.
Thank you. Of course, Vitaly Klitschko will be fighting Tomasz Adamek September 10th in Poland, and there is a documentary on the heavyweight champion brothers debuting at the Tribeca Film Festival in New York City coming up next Tuesday. It is called Klitschko, and they talk about their childhood spent on military bases throughout the Soviet Union and how they were affected by Chernobyl. Could be quite a fascinating documentary. Again, it makes its debut on Tuesday at the Tribeca Film Festival. ESPN's coverage of Major League Baseball continues Sunday and Monday night. You've got Joey Votto and the Reds taking on their division rivals, Albert Pujols and the Cards. And then Monday Night Baseball, the Chicago White Sox taking on A-Rod and the Yankees. That also on ESPN. The main event is coming up. Brady Prescott, hard hitting, is next.
It makes me so sad that somebody had to die for us to live. And I will not forget Paco and his family. I'm very proud to know that I have a heart of a real champion.
Francisco Paco Rodriguez will always be a hero to that dynamic group who cherish every day that they have. That story is still to come on Friday Night Fights. A can't miss. For now, it is time for our main event. Bayan Jargal came from Mongolia to the United States by himself with little to lean on, but plenty of hope. Tonight takes a step up against former top 10 ranked junior welterweight Brady Prescott. And there is Brady Prescott, 29 years old. Before making his U.S. debut in June 2008, he had previously built his impressive record mostly against limited competition in Colombia. In 2009, he was Ring Magazine #7 in the world, was ranked by all the organizations in the top 10, and that high ranking was all because of the one win that he will always be known for. He KO'd current 140-pound world champion Amir Khan. I mean, he just tore right through him 54 seconds in to round number 1 back in September of 2008. And tonight he will face Bayan Jargal. From Mongolia to Philly to Arlington, Virginia. Now his biggest test to date. He's trying to bounce back from his first career loss. Had a good amateur career in Asia. Teddy has the fight plan, brought to you by Corona Extra.
You want to reach for the stars, but as a fighter, you never want to be seeing stars. Let's find out right now who's going up and who's going down. Jargal, Prescott. Now, Prescott has a little bit of a reach advantage, and he throws a real nice 1-2. He's going to be looking to land that punch. Now, I noticed with Jargal, he drops his left hand when he feels a little pressure, tucks his chin into his shoulder, keeps his right hand up real nice, moves his head. One problem. This flies out a little bit. So if you're Prescott, throw your favorite combination. Throw that 1-2. Bing, bing. He'll slip it. Bang. Left hook to the body. Fill that black hole. Not in space, in his body. You do that, and you're Prescott, you're over the moon happy. You're a winner. All right, now, how does Jargo avoid drifting into space? Gravity. What do I mean? Well, I'll be Jargo. He'll be Prescott. Pull him in a little bit. You know that Prescott's looking for that big right hand, so make a reach. Step back a little bit, pull him in, gravity, bang. Counter with the left hook. You got a pretty good left hook there, Jargo. If you do that, well, twinkle, twinkle, little star. That'll be you.
He would be the star of the night, wouldn't he?
Yes, he would.
All right, gentlemen, you were given your instructions in your respective dressing rooms, both in Spanish and English. You understand? Entiendo todo? Touch gloves, toca las manos, buena suerte.
Double S, Steve Smoger, the referee for Prescott and Jargo, scheduled for 10 rounds.
You know, Joe, since you mentioned his name, I'm going to take a moment to say that what struck me and to some extent bothered me over the weekend watching some of the fights, and in particular the Berto fight against Ortiz, was the refereeing. I just thought there was too much interference and not allowing the fighters to do one of the things that have been done in boxing for many years. Yeah, but just allow them to fight on the inside. Somebody needs to train these referees and remind them that the rules say if you have a hand free, let the fighter work. Let him work his way out. Don't come in there and break him. You do not allow one of the greater dimensions of boxing to take place, the inside fighting. This fella here, Steve Smoger, allows you to fight on the inside. He does not interfere with a fight more than he needs to.
I would say go so far as to encourage it, Steve Smoger.
And that's why a lot of times on his watch, you wind up, by no accident, getting good fights. I think, talking of good fights, you're going to have a competitive fight here tonight. A lot of the people I talk to don't give Jargo much of a shot. I'm not one of those people. I think he's slicker and cuter than people think. He moves his head pretty good. He'll move his legs a little bit. He knows how to make you miss, and he can sneak shots in, especially left hooks. For Prescott, he likes to look for that right hand, sometimes straight, sometimes looping like that, and sometimes he's over anxious and he'll reach. And I think that might be an opportunity, as I said in the fight plan, for Jargo to score. Look for the jab in the right hand from Prescott.
We're seeing plenty of the jab early on here, and Jargo just escaped a right hand that would have been flush if he stood in there.
It might have been flush if it was a little straighter. That's the problem with Prescott, Joe. Sometimes he doesn't always throw that right hand like an arrow.
No, that was looping a bit. That was
sometimes
wide.
It's a boomerang. And boomerangs come back to hit you. You throw a boomerang right hand, you miss, and the other guy hits you.
There's Prescott coming in now. That wide right hand landed as he scores well here in the final minute of this first round. Now the jab to the body.
Well, you just saw a moment ago that happened when you put pressure on Jargo. He drops the left hand. You see it again, Joe. He'll tuck that chin into the left shoulder and then move his head with his left hand down. He got hurt there. The right hand missed Prescott, but the left hook, the follow-up punch, found Jargo.
Remember what those left hands did to Amir Khan. He didn't get out of the first round against Prescott.
Throw a looping right hand, the guy sees it coming, he can make it miss, but then you follow up with the left hook, and you get what you want. You get a guy staggering, that guy being Jargo, a little bit in front of you. That's the benefit, you young fighters out there, to throwing two instead of one punch. The first misses, the second finds the mark.
Brady Prescott, veteran at 140 pounds, coming off 2 straight wins after losing 2 straight by decision.
You know, Jargo does a good job of moving his head. What he doesn't do a good job of is keeping his left hand up when he moves his head. Again, he drops the left hand, tucks the chin into the left shoulder to make up for it, but he lays on the right too much, Joe. Watch for that. When Jargo lays on his right side, he's in the path to the right hand. He's much better off, especially with Prescott, to slip to the left, because Prescott is always looking to throw right hands. See, there he goes again. He didn't pay a price, but I don't like what I'm seeing with Jargo. He's laying his head on that right side, the wrong side, with a guy chucking rights at you.
NASCAR Nationwide Series is at Nashville Saturday on ESPN. Coverage is going to start at 2 Eastern. There's that lean to the right one more time by Jargo. Prescott snapping out that jab.
See, Jargo could get away with that if he wasn't in there with a predominant right-hand puncher. But he is in there with a predominant right-hand puncher. And he keeps laying on the right. He's going to be laying on the ground. Jargo has to survive, I would say, the first 4 rounds. Because, you know, he's got a little bit of stage nervousness right now on national television. Prescott has been there before. So Jargo needs to get past those first 4. Especially Prescott, very physically strong early on. But if he can get past these first 4 rounds, I think Jargo has a chance maybe to make it interesting. But be careful of that first step. It's a Lulu.
See how much range Prescott has on some of these jabs.
Again, there's the lane on the right side of Jargo. No right hand came, so no harm done.
Another good steady round for Brady Prescott. End of 2, scheduled for 10. Joe and Teddy back with you ringside here on Friday Night Fights from Mohegan Sun in Uncasville, Connecticut. Of course, Brian Penny in our Friday Night Fights studio with all the news and analysis and what has been just a wild week of boxing. It's been a wild month with all the upsets we've had both on our air, and our colleagues at the other networks have seen some fireworks that have surprised a few.
You know, Prescott has 19 knockouts, but when I look at his knockout record, Joe, I see that over 90%, maybe 95% of them come in the first 3 rounds. He doesn't carry his power for the most part later in the fight. He settles into using the jab and keeping his reach a little bit, controlling that range. So again, the necessity for Jargo to survive those first 3-4 rounds. That's where the danger lies.
Just stood up to a series of headshots that included an uppercut. Jargo stands his ground, takes a baby step forward. There's a left uppercut that landed from Prescott.
And again, Jargo needs to get some rounds under him, get a little confidence, get a little comfortable. Prescott is comfortable in this kind of stage. He's fought the much better competition.
Jargo was thrown off his step moments ago and then took 2 good body punches and another right hand. Double jab right hand from Prescott again.
Prescott's the smaller man tonight. Most of his fights, for the ones that we have weights on, has been between lightweight and junior welterweight, while Jargo have been between junior welter and welterweight. So maybe that little bit of a size advantage of Jargo allows him to absorb, allows him to endure. Maybe it allows him to survive the punches early on.
Mongolian mongoose, a little thicker. Prescott a little taller. He's got him by 2 inches.
It's the right hand you have to worry about when you fight Prescott. And I think when you fight Jargo, you have to worry about the left hook.
Got in the path of that right hand, stayed in the path of that right hand again.
If I'm in the corner of Jargell, I'm telling him, use your jab. Try to take the jab away from the taller Prescott. But whatever you do, move your head to the left. Do not leave your head on the right side. If you're going to make a mistake, make it on the left side, not on the right side.
Coming to the end of 3, and Brady Prescott still in control early. Stay with us. More to come from Mohegan Sun.
Yeah. It's hard to just say thank you. You got to say more.
Paco Rodriguez, who will never be forgotten by anyone who hears his story. And coming up on Friday Night Fights, you will be among those who realize the impact his life had on so many.
And if you watch that, and I recommend you do, you will be one of many people that have tears in your eyes.
Undoubtedly. Round number 4 here between Brady Prescott and Ryan Jargell. We're getting our first look at Jargell on Friday Night Fights, sitting ringside. Teddy, you've scouted him. You watched a lot of tape. And I think your assessment was dead on. And as we reach now round number 4, starting to get to that point where you say, okay, if he can get through this phase of the fight, now things will be more to his advantage under his terms, but still Prescott a lot to deal with.
I agree, Joe, and as you see as we get into the later stages or towards the first half of the fight, the 4th round, you see why Prescott has accumulated most of his knockouts in the first 3 rounds. He's boxing more now. Once he gets to a certain point, Prescott, as I touched on the last round, will all of a sudden change his mentality. Now he's just going to collect rounds. He's going to pick spots. He's going to move a little bit. Early on, he sets himself. He looks for the big shot. Jargell has been cut over his right eye, a problem he hopes not to have tonight. Prescott coming in here has lost 2 of his last 4, but to good fighters.
Triple jab by Brady Prescott.
This is where Jargell starts to make his move a little bit, I believe.
Lunged in with that left hook, put him into the corner, and Prescott gets himself out. Jab to the body, jab to the head.
You know, you look at the physical advantage of Prescott, and you see a tall, long guy. And that's also the physical disadvantage at the same time. He's a tall, long guy. That means there's a long, lean body to attack. And Jargell needs to see that.
How does Jargell get after that?
Well, he needs to be aggressive behind his jab and slip to his left where he should for defensive purposes anyway. And when he slips to his left, he'd be in good position to come back with that left hook underneath the elbow that sometimes Prescott lets fly out.
See if he can figure that out when we come back here for round number 5 as Prescott looks good.
Look at the action tonight. Some of those spots where Jargell lays on his right and gives opportunities for right hands. Again, he slips to his right and he stays there. And Prescott looking to land that right hand as he sees the opportunity once again. He sees Jargell over on the right side. He knows what to do.
Opens up this 5th round with a good series of jabs, and then the right hand does Brady Prescott, who of course has that signature win, the knockout of world champion Amir Khan. He says, I'm still waiting for that rematch from Amir. He knows that Amir, he says, wants to make a little money, wants to get the big fights, but then he says he should get after me.
You know, even though Prescott is tall and long, he's a fighter. He likes to be aggressive, and sometimes because he's aggressive, he falls in there with his head a little bit, and he's been involved in some head clash fights.
Good combination by Prescott. Good work doubling up that jab throughout.
Good work being tall from Prescott.
Indeed.
Getting full extension on his punches, punching where he can land, and simply put, Jargell cannot. You're a tall guy, you want to punch from the place where you can be tall on the outside, and Prescott is doing exactly that.
Reminder, Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. 8 o'clock will be Reds against the Cards, and then Monday Night Baseball at 7, White Sox, Yankees.
Jargell doing a better job of avoiding the right hand, keeping the left hand up a little bit now when he slips. But now he has to find a way to mix in some offense. You can survive with defense, but you can't always win. Very difficult to win with defense. Survive and put yourself in position, but to win, you have to have offense. And once again, Jargell lays over on the right side, and he pays a price.
He was leaned over on the right side, and Prescott delivered another right hand. And Prescott's landing a lot here now at this point of round number 5. Look at this series. Headshot after headshot from Brady Prescott, and Jargell stands up to it.
What a tough guy this Jargell is, but now he learns he needs to try to find a way to tie up. And when you have a mentality like Jargell, you can see that that's not something that's in his repertoire, not something that's in his makeup, not something he's been taught how to tie up.
Boy, is he durable. And swelling around both eyes here at the end of round number 5.
Even though there was no knockdown, sometimes you can score a 10-8 round. And why? Because of stuff like this. One guy dominant, the other guy surviving. A lot of punches from Prescott, a little slapping there, but domination from Prescott.
Let's show you the CompuBox numbers from that last round, specifically the power punches. A 32-1 edge for Brady Prescott in power punches according to CompuBox. And Teddy's scorecard. Gonna mark down that 5th round as a 10-8 round, so 50-44 Prescott.
Not that you can give a demerit to Prescott in that last round, but if you could, you would say, why did you not place at least one nice shot to the body? Because while Jargell was showing great heart and great survival skills, the head was moving, but the body was right there. And a well-placed body shot may have really frozen Jargell for the finish.
See significant swelling around that left eye of Jargell. Obviously, that has been in the path of the right hand of Prescott all night long.
And the people in the corner need to use that end swell with Jargell.
Or that double jab from Prescott.
John Curran, the cut man in the corner of Jargell, he doesn't have blood to deal with, but he has swelling to deal with, as you said, Joe, and that's part of the job of a cut man. Get that end swell, that metal piece that you keep cold in the ice, and apply it to the swelling of Jargell before it gets worse.
Jargell taking some steps forward here after Prescott now tries to get him in the corner, looking for a right hand to the body, which he does land, and Prescott jabs his way out the side door to the left.
If Jargell is going to survive, if he's going to actually find a way to do more than survive and turn this fight around, believe it or not, it's probably going to come from a body shot. Because I think that's where the openings, just like the openings are there for Prescott to the head with the right hand, the openings for Jargell with Prescott are down underneath. Like Jargell is, you can't miss opportunities. An opportunity missed right here. Look at Prescott. Oh. The right hand gets caught, an opening for a left hook. Watch again, and maybe you see why he missed the opportunity. The eyes are closed of Jargell, and as the right hand gets caught in the ropes, well, Jargell cannot see the opportunity. You must see opportunities, especially when you're an underdog.
Just thudding right hand that time. Teddy, I remember covering a fight back in the late 90s of a local fighter from Connecticut that happened to, and he actually tore a muscle in his arm because the rope caught him, and it changed the entire complexion of the fight. That's actually pretty dangerous right there.
Very dangerous. As you said, you could tear a bicep. You could also tear a rotator cuff. An easy way to injure yourself as you're trying to throw full force forward and the rope is pulling your arm in that joint backwards. But again, that opportunity there as Prescott moved the hand back, got caught in the rope. See, that's bad technique a little bit, and it's hard to knock Prescott. He's doing a terrific job, but it goes to show you, we talked about it early, sometimes he throws the right hand straight, sometimes he loops it, and when he loops it, he loads up, and he pulls it back. Right. And that time, he got caught with the rope.
If it's going back far enough where it can be caught in the rope, then your mechanics are severely flawed.
Exactly, and that means there will be an opportunity for somebody to catch you with a left hook. And that somebody, at least tonight, is trying to beat Jargell.
Jargell actually landing a bit here over the course of the last 25 seconds. Prescott also consistently scoring. There's that double jab that we've seen all night long.
It's a jabbing right hand night for Prescott. And if Jargell is going to win, it's going to have to be winding up as a left hooking night for him. There's a left hook by Jargell.
He's lunging forward with that left hand as the swelling around the left eye continues to worsen for the Mongolian.
Jargell has enough problems with the tall, sharp Prescott. He's given himself extra problems, Joe. When he gets inside, instead of staying there, he goes back outside where he has to work all over again and take chances all over again to get inside.
It's that right hand just staying in the path of it. Counters back with a right hand, does Prescott. They will have 3 rounds to go. Brought to you by Just for Men Hair Color. Kevin Rooney Jr. in his pro debut against David Navarro.
And a little help from Navarro, leaving that right hand out. And again, a left hook by Rooney. Navarro throws his left hook, but does not keep his right hand up. And there's Rooney back to work. Boy, he's got a tough boss in Joe DeGuardia. He fights a 4-round fight and doesn't get the rest of the night off.
He is the publicist and event coordinator for the promoter, Joe DeGuardia. So he's right back to the shirt and tie and working ringside. Meanwhile, Jargell has his best offensive output of the night here to open up this 8th round. Now Prescott gets out of that position and sends him back.
Well, 2 things there that were good for Jargell. Number 1, he got in close and he stayed in close. He didn't go back outside to that bad neighborhood that belongs to the taller, longer Prescott. But he landed the punch that we said that Jargell would need to land if he's going to turn this fight around, the left hook. The good news for Jago, he found out that he could land that hook and he could affect Prescott a little bit. The bad news is Prescott's still standing and Jago's way behind. He needs more than just spots with that left hook. He needs a big bang with that left hook. See, if I'm in the corner of Jago, I'm telling him, okay, use the jab to stabilize the taller guy. Get yourself in position for the left hook, but go to the body first. Go to that lean body that's sometimes open of Prescott, and then go upstairs. Watch the right elbow. We're looking for opportunities, I guess, for Jago to climb back here before it's an end of the night. So look at that right elbow sometimes of Prescott. Sometimes it'll fly out a little bit. And that's where the left hook to the body has to fly in. Prescott's done a very good job upstairs tonight. Where he hasn't done much work is downstairs.
It's been so easy upstairs. He gets caught up in taking it and taking it.
Exactly. But sometimes when you have a guy like Jago who has such a good chin, you like to soften the body up a little bit, Joe. Find
really
out
does have a good chin.
How does he take it downstairs? We know he takes it upstairs.
We're crying, you know, and I said, Paco, you can stop crying now, and the rain just stopped immediately, you know. Then the sun came out.
Well, Paco Rodriguez, a pro fighter whose name was never announced as a new champion, but a name that will live on forever with those organ recipients. We are going to have an encore presentation of Jeremy Schaap's feature story on Paco Rodriguez and the conclusion of this main event. That is a must-watch story on Paco Rodriguez. Jago desperate to find the answer here against Brady Prescott.
And Jago might be in desperate territory. I have him way behind in desperate waters where he needs a knockout to win. And he's also in territory that is unfamiliar to him. He's past the 8th round for the first time in his career. Prescott has been 10 rounds or better 6 times.
Oh, that left hand straight low. And Steve Smoger gives the warning to Prescott. First time we've seen Smoger have to really get involved in this fight at all.
Again, the greatest referees quite often are the ones you never see. They understand who people want to see, the participants, the fighters. A lot of referees over the weekend that we watched in the boxing, and quite often we watch, do not understand that premise.
Of course, we also had the stoppage with Juanma Lopez against Salido.
Some people thought that stoppage was too quick, maybe a tad too quick, but I think Salido was going to get that same result. All the heart in the world with both fighters, and all the heart in the world with Jago, who's been outmatched tonight. But Jargell would really help himself with that chance to pull this out of the fire. And that's what it would be, pulling it out of the fire at this point. If he would stay in close once he gets there instead of allowing himself to fall out.
Robert Crawford works the corner of Bayan Jargell. Let's listen in.
Okay. Good, baby. Good round. Okay, man. Hey, look.
You got 3 minutes to get him.
You need to sit down on everything. Everything needs to be short and sharp. You understand? Go to that body. You cannot let up. Attack. I need head and body. Short shots. Move your head. When you move your head, punch off of that head movement. To the shoulders, to the chest. You understand? And turn them under. Both hands working. Punch it in bunches. You understand? Be active, be head movement, and punch off the head movement.
You won't miss right here. You won't miss when you throw it right here.
Okay, this is the last round, baby.
Last round. You got to win it. You got to knock it out.
You got to be tight.
Fans from Mohegan Sun Arena, put your hands together. This is the 10th and final round.
And on Teddy Atlas's card, he needs to put forth that all-out punches and bunches strategy and score with a lottery ticket because he trails 89-81.
Jargell has never been 10 rounds before, and if he's going to win this fight, he can't go 10 rounds. He's got to end this before the 10th round ends.
He needs that right there. He needs Brady Prescott engaging in exchanges like he just did. There comes a right hand in.
You're right, Joe. And as Prescott has needed the jab and right hand all night long, Jargell needs the left hook. And he needs to be close, and he needs to stay close. But actually, believe it or not, and you touched on it, Jargell really needs is a right hand from Prescott that he can slip to his left, make it miss, and then land the left hook before Prescott gets the right hand back up.
He's not getting that cooperation right now with Prescott putting up his guard. Now Prescott comes with the right hand and then snaps a jab back as there was a moment of separation.
A lot of people didn't think that Jargell, as I said early on, could go rounds with Prescott.
I heard a lot of that this week.
Yeah, I thought he could go the rounds, but I thought that he could win more of them, and he hasn't. He's doing a better job this round. A little late.
Boy, is he tough, and does he have a chin. Prescott just at a different level and in a higher form tonight.
1 minute left. Jargell needs to put pressure on, hope that a right hand comes, slip to his left, make the right hand miss, and do like Joe Frazier did many years ago in the Garden. Come with a left hook and land it.
Got to hope for a miracle in the last 20 seconds here, this Jargell.
Prescott in survival mode.
Smart.
Yes, it is. When you put that many rounds already in the bank.
He earned it. Earned it every which way. Brady Prescott soon to secure win number 24 when we come back and hear from the judges, plus our special presentation on Paco Rodriguez.
Tonight is on the road, live from the iconic ballparks of America. Our team breaks down the Sunday night matchup from the clubhouse, in the dugout, and on the field. Baseball Tonight, live from the ballpark, Sunday at 7 on ESPN.
ESPN Friday Night Fights is presented by Corona Extra, proud sponsor of Friday Night Fights, and as always encourages you to relax responsibly, and in part by AT&T, the nation's fastest mobile broadband network. Joe and Teddy here at Mohegan Sun. We wrap up Brady Prescott's strong evening against Bayan Jargo, Teddy.
A lot of heart all night from Jargo, but all the punches all night, for the most part, all from that man, Prescott.
Remember, it was September 08. He had that knockout of current world champion Amir Khan. Then hit the speed bump, couple losses. He's coming back with a couple wins and then puts this effort forth tonight. 98-91 says Teddy. Let's head up to the ring to generous Joe Antonacci.
Boxing fans, after 10 rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecards. Judge Glenn Feldman scores the bout 99-91. Judge Steve Weisfeld scores the bout 99-90. And Judge Don Trella scores the bout 100-90, all in favor of your winner by unanimous decision, Brady Prescott.
Brady Prescott now 24-2.
Once again,
Bayan Jargo. He was tough, he was game, had a good chin, but after being unbeaten through 18 fights, now 2 losses in a row. Interesting night here at Mohegan Sun. For more Friday Night Fights, we send it back to the studio and Brian Kenny.
Joe, Teddy, thank you very much. Back here on Friday Night Fights in the studio. From a tragic event, there is solace and there is life. We all gasp in horror when there's a death in the ring, and what good can possibly come from it? It turns out a life didn't just end in late 2009 with the death of Francisco Paco Rodriguez. Lives were saved. We have for you now an E60 exclusive that you'll never forget. Here's Jeremy Schaap.
November 20th, 2009. 25-year-old Francisco Paco Rodriguez is fighting for a championship at the Blue Horizon in Philadelphia. This is his shot, his moment.
He would tell me, babe, I haven't felt better than how I feel today. He would say, this fight, I really feel good, and I'm gonna come back with the belt.
In a hospital 3 miles away, 22-year-old Ashley Owens is also fighting for her life. Her lungs are barely functioning. She writes goodbye letters to her family.
Dear Dad, you always told me it is best to remember all the good times.
Paco enters the ring vital and hopeful. Breathless and weak, Ashley thinks about the things she'll never do.
I will be in heaven watching over you and waiting for the day that we can all be together. I love you, Dad.
Francisco El Niño Azteca Rodriguez.
A proud Mexican-American, Paco Rodriguez has followed his father and older brothers into the fight game. In Chicago, where he grew up, he's a 5-time Golden Gloves champion. Now, El Niño Azteca is aiming for a professional title belt.
Just being a fighter and, having people chant his name. El Niño Azteca, Paco. And that's what he loved, especially when he was in the ring.
Outside the ring, what Paco loves most are his wife, Sonia, and daughter, Jeanette.
That was his pride and joy there. He was prouder to be a father than to be a boxer.
I never thought I'd find the guy of my dreams, and when I met Paco, I said I was really wrong. He had everything that I needed in a man.
In September 2009, Paco finds out he'll get his title shot. At 14-2, he'll be fighting for the first time as a father.
I didn't want him to box anymore because I would tell him, you know, we have the baby now. And he would tell me, no, babe, I'm always well prepared. Nothing's going to happen to me. Don't worry.
Paco arrives in Philadelphia 2 days before his championship fight. Hours before he'll climb through the ropes, he makes a boxer's pilgrimage.
The kid was so excited. He was gleaming. He was confident. Couldn't wait to fight night. And I mean, it was. This is what the kid wanted. He wanted to be a champion.
800 hardcore boxing fans are on hand to see Paco fight for the USBA Super Bantamweight crown. Near the end of the first round, Tion Kennedy staggers Paco twice. In the second round, Paco takes the initiative. The fight tilts back and forth. But by the 10th round, Paco is defenseless, and the fight is stopped. Battered, defeated, he retreats to his corner.
As he was sitting down on the stool, he had one hand on the ring. And I looked at him, I said, Paquito, look at me, look at me. How do you feel? He goes, I'm sleeping, I'm sleeping. And I noticed that his eyes rolled back. And I just kept screaming at him. And he wouldn't answer. His body just went limp.
An ambulance takes him to Hahnemann University Hospital a mile away. Paco's brain is swelling and bleeding. He undergoes 3 hours of emergency surgery. His wife, Sonia, who was at home in Chicago with a baby, rushes to the hospital early the next morning.
I didn't even know he was in a coma. He had tubes running all over him. A machine that was pumping him. It wasn't what I was expecting to see.
What did the doctors tell you?
They said, we're sorry, but there's no possibility of him making it.
Yo en ese momento le pedí a Dios que no se lo fuera a llevar. Que yo le cambiara mi vida por la de él.
Entonces, a lo mejor Dios dijo, pues, lo necesito y me lo llevo.
At 7:42 p.m. on Sunday, November 22nd, 2 nights after collapsing in the ring, Paco Rodriguez is declared brain dead. 3 hours later, a representative from the Gift of Life donor program asks Paco's family to consider donating his organs.
I remember just looking over to my sister-in-law and telling her I would think it'd be very disappointing to see that all the hard work that Paco did to keep his body in the shape that he kept it, his heart, to let it stop beating. I think we should give someone else a chance now that he doesn't have one.
He wanted to be a hero. And he would always tell me that. So I said, you know, if that was his goal in life, then, you know, we're gonna do it for him.
Over the next 2 days, Paco Rodriguez would become that hero Ashley Owens received his lungs.
What do you remember about the feeling when you woke up?
I noticed it. I could breathe, like, in deep for the first time ever, and it was right away. That was amazing. When my lungs were bad, I couldn't do anything, so I was so weak. And I just want to push myself. I want to see how far I can go, how far I can get this new body to take me.
Paco's heart went to 26-year-old Alexis Sloan, a boxing fan from Philadelphia who'd often attended fights at the Blue Horizon, the site of Paco's final bout. Born with a genetic condition, by 2007, Alexis's heart could no longer pump on its own. She'd spend more than 2 years connected to a medical device 24 hours a day. Paco's heart gave Alexis her freedom.
I remember being outside and it was raining like really, really hard. And I always say when it rains, the angels are crying, you know. And I said, Paco, you can stop crying now. And the rain just stopped immediately, you know. Then the sun came out.
Paco's liver was flown to Baltimore for 25-year-old Megan Kingsley. Once a highly accomplished youth swimmer, dozens of benign tumors in her brain compromised her muscle development, balance, and hearing. After 9 years with no cure, she tried an experimental drug treatment to shrink the tumors. Instead, it shut down her liver. She received Paco's with only days to live.
I've been back to the hospital many, many times since my surgery due to rejection and viruses. And when I'm really ill, I'll kind of rub my liver and I'll say, come on, Paco, like, please work with me. Let's get through this. You know, I want to get out and live my life.
One of Paco's kidneys and his pancreas were given to Vicki Davis, a 57-year-old mother of two who spent 3.5 years on the transplant list as she was suffering from diabetes and kidney failure.
How can you thank someone for a gift like that? You can't. It's hard to just say thank you. You gotta say more.
In the spring of 2010, 4 months after Paco's death, his widow Sonia asked the Gift of Life donor program to help her contact the 4 strangers who'd received her husband's organs. She wrote them letters telling them about the man she loved.
I want to have them as part of my life because through them, I feel like I'm going to be able to continue a relationship with Francisco. And I want them to have a relationship with my daughter too, so that one day they can also tell her how he changed their life.
Ashley, Alexis, Megan, and Vicki all wrote back to Sonia, each expressing a desire to meet face to face.
Looks beautiful up here. So what do you
1
think?
year after Paco's death, on November 30th, 2010, with the assistance of Gift of Life and E60, the 4 recipients flew to Chicago, Paco's hometown, and met each other for the first time. The following day, they would meet Paco's family: Sonia, his mother Maria, brother Alex, and his 17-month-old daughter Jeanette.
Bye.
Hi. I'm Alex.
I'm Vicki.
Megan, nice to meet you.
This is Jeanette. Saluda a las tres. Hi.
Hi, Megan. It's nice to meet you. So nice to meet you.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
The recipients met Paco's father, brother Tito, and his uncle Ramon Tejeda, who received Paco's other kidney.
I'm Vicki. I got the other kidney.
Sharon Kingsley, the mother of Megan, the liver recipient, embraced Maria.
From one mother to another mother. Nobody can understand. I understand.
The family shared stories of Paco and memories of his boxing career with the four women.
That's so weird. He was like our age when all that happened. And he did all this. And he was our age. Like, I haven't done anything close to that.
But you can now.
Yeah.
Before leaving Chicago, there was one last meeting. At Alexis's suggestion, she and Ashley, Megan and Vicky went to see Paco.
It makes me so sad that somebody had to die for us to live. And I will not forget Paco and his family.
It's hard to accept that he's gone. But because of him, other people live. And he lives within them too. A piece of him is still there. So that makes me happy.
You're my hero. I'm very proud to know that I have a heart of a real champion.
Powerful piece. Obviously, E60.com has the full piece. That was a good part of the piece right there, and you can watch it again or see the complete piece there and have the companion article. It's on ESPNChicago.com right now. Again, ESPNChicago.com. We air this now as April is National Donate Life Month. All the recipients are still doing quite well. Ashley is getting married. Alexis will be at the wedding as well, and Paco's oldest brother, Alex, is training again to fight. We're back on Friday Night Fights after this. Be sure to join us next week here on Friday Night Fights. We'll be joining you live from Las Vegas, Friday, April 29th, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN3.com. Carlos Molina coming off a series of impressive wins, upset wins, battles hard-hitting Alan Conyers, who's coming off an impressive upset win in his last fight. Junior middleweights, Friday Night Fights next week. Baseball Tonight is coming up next here right now. We'll be back here next Friday on Friday Night Fights for Joe Tessitore, Teddy Atlas, and all of our producers and Jeremy Schapp at E60. I'm Brian Kenny. We'll see you here next Friday night. Baseball Tonight comes your way right now.